Crystal Palace take on Manchester United, with the Eagles looking to strengthen their push for a potential European place, while United will be eager to put that Everton performance behind them and return to winning ways. Manchester United on a good wicket, on the up, and then against Everton on Monday night. Did you see that coming?
Yes. I said it last week, last time I was on.
I'm giving you the floor. I'll set it up and you just got to,
Thank you very much. No, I mean, listen, sometimes it's a bit foolhardy to kind of sticking your neck on the block on the show, being beamed out to millions of people around the world. But I've just been unconvinced by Manchester United. They are the team, they used to be the team you could absolutely trust. Fergie time, it was never over till it was over. There was always the opportunity for them to score late on in games. Now they are the team you simply cannot trust. And the 5-match run of form that they'd been on before this match was totally illusory, because they were always giving teams opportunities to score. They were never, ever, and they have never been comfortable in this 3 at the back system. And I know lots of people say it's not just a system, and fair enough. But the facts are that every team they play against will give them an opportunity to score. And defensively, Everton are far better than Manchester United are. That's why they lost that game. That's why I think they'll lose this game against Crystal Palace, who have the second best defensive record in the Premier League so far this season. Only 9 goals conceded, 3 more than Arsenal. You cannot tell me at Selhurst Park that United side are going to go there and win.
Yeah, you've already got your predictions in early. I'm so impressed with you today. It's unbelievable. In terms of Manchester United, they had opportunities, as we just saw there, but a lot of criticism is on the manager not changing things once Everton, were a player light.
I can't see why you would expect him to change things. He's set his stall out. It's been set out ever since he walked in the football club. He does what he does. Take it or leave it. That's pretty much his message.
Glenn, when you're a player in the dressing room and he is like that, does it frustrate you as players?
Depends if you fit that system. But no, I think... listen, when I get a look at Manchester United, the players they have, and we talk about international footballers here, so I find this hard to say, but they just don't suit that system. I don't think there's enough energy in the team. I don't think there's enough running ability in the middle of the park. I think when we talk about kind of, I think there was questions over were they back over that period of 5 games. And I watched them at Spurs a couple of weekends ago, and they were really, really poor. They went ahead in the game. They never had the kind of that mentality to be able to kill the game off. And Spurs obviously came back and they got a draw in the end, which showed character. But when I look at Manchester United, the biggest improvement for me with Manchester United is what they did in the transfer window. Yeah. They had a good transfer window. Cunha and Mbeumo, they're good profiles. They're proven Premier League players. They carry the ball. They run forward with purpose. Therefore, just takes that little bit of pressure off your defence that you see is weak. And I think that's the biggest difference. I don't think much has changed at Manchester United, and I think it's going to be another long season for them.
So more of the same from last season, just they have players who can score?
I think there'll be a slight upturn in last year. I mean, last year was terrible. Yeah. So he had to improve in some capacity, but do I think come the end of the season they'll be vying for Champions League places? I think that'll be a big ask for them.
Only one team has made a success in that top half of the table in terms of playing 3 at the back and going on to win silverware. Chelsea under Conte. That team is on a different planet to this Manchester United team. And I admire Amorim, this whole thing about principles. Man United are not going to be successful with him playing that way.
Yeah, well, Glenn's just said he doesn't think they'll be fighting for Champions League. To be fair, if they had won that game, they would have gone 2 points off Chelsea.
Yeah, and it would have papered up a lot of crack straws. Yeah. If you think, again, I keep referring to the defensive records of teams in that top 6, 7, but they are going to be key in the race for Champions League football. You cannot qualify for Champions League if you're conceding 2 goals a game. It just can't be done. And I think that's what the situation is with Manchester United at the moment. Every time, I cannot see a set of circumstances where Mateta doesn't get his knife and fork out at the weekend and actually tuck into that defence, because they will give him the opportunities to score, either aerially, on the deck. There'll be a lapse in concentration. As a striker, you surely look at this Manchester United side and say they don't have the discipline to last the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about when I played for Tony Pulis against Vidic and Ferdinand, that's like that's a different level as far as I'm concerned to this Manchester United back 5 now. But the only good thing for Manchester United is that Crystal Palace played away in Europe midweek. So they've got a small squad as well, so there's not much squad churn or turnover between midweek and the weekend. So that is the one positive going into the game, that Manchester United should have the upper hand when it comes to energy.
Yeah, just hearing that Manchester United in terms of numbers, I know this is your job, so just allow me for a second, that they have no clean sheets in 11 away from home and they've only won 1 in 11 on the road, and then to have to go to Crystal Palace, who've already set it up for us, all of it based on that fantastic defensive work from theirs. There's a system that's really working under a manager that's got them buying into his way of playing.
Oliver Glasner was a winner of the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt a few years back. I remember going to the semi-final. West Ham were playing against him. They totally outmaneuvered West Ham. They were disciplined. They were clinical in front of goal. And it looks as though he's having a similar effect on this Crystal Palace team as well. Because when you look at those numbers, the win ratio at all of those clubs that he has been at. And, you know, Palace, when they were winners in the FA Cup, people turned around and said maybe it's a fluke. So they went and did it again in the Community Shield as well, just for good measure. He's improved every player.
Yeah.
I would argue. You're a better barometer than me for that. But he is someone who looks to have good man management skills.
Yeah.
He's got a very clear plan. He's got players who buy into that plan. And you can see why at Crystal Palace they are battling to get him to commit his long-term future to the club. I don't think they will.
Yeah, but if you're saying that they, you know, the players are buying in to him and what he wants to do, maybe he's waiting, and you'll correct me if you think I'm wrong, maybe he's waiting to see whether they will buy into what he wants to do, because, you know, he didn't enjoy the last transfer window. He's very, very adamant about the Gahey situation, and you felt that could be a fork in the road between club and manager. And maybe that's what he's waiting for.
I think it's a really important point, because Gahey will go. He will go, whether it's in January, whether it's next summer, he will go. So are you really going to commit yourself to a football club that is allowing its best players to walk out the door? Now, you might turn around and say, well, there's nothing he can do because it's Gahey's decision.
But the clubs put themselves in that situation.
That I agree. And listen, you've signed contracts at clubs. I would imagine there are things that you signing would have been contingent on. So you would know maybe what his thought process, relatively speaking, would be.
I think it's a really, really tough situation for Crystal Palace and Steve Parish to be in. Because he's an elite manager. He's proved that over and over again. I think there will be a slight kind of side to Oliver that wants a big club, a really big club, and so wherever that may be in Europe. And he obviously wants to kind of progress his own career personally. He's proven himself at Crystal Palace. He's proven himself in the Premier League, in the Bundesliga. What's next for him? Is he going to be backed? I probably think that Crystal Palace will struggle to match his ambition, especially when you take into consideration that Elise is left on his watch, that Eze is left on his watch, Mark Gay is going to leave on his watch. So ultimately, they are a selling club, and when you're a manager like him, you want to win as many things as you can.
I think he could manage Manchester United easily and improve them immeasurably. I think he could manage a Tottenham and improve them immeasurably. I think there are a number of clubs across Europe. I don't think Liverpool need a new manager.
Very nice
try.
Very nice try there, Glenn. Very nice try. Well, why don't we get to Oliver Glasner, because he was asked whether he would look to strengthen his squad in the January transfer window.
I think we need to. Ismaila also will leave us. So he's the only player who makes runs in behind from our taste, the profile. Yeah. So maybe. I think we just have to have this profile again, because also the other players on the bench, they are a different profile, and we need players to stretch the defense, and I hope that we will get it done.
AFCON, plenty of players. Manchester United losing 3 as well. So a big talking point across the Premier League. I want to talk about replacements, though, because they did, as you mentioned, lose Eze. And they are counting on Jeremy Pino to kind of fill that role, to play that role. I know he scored against Wolves. What have you made so far?
I think he's done quite well, in honesty. I watched his first couple of games in the Premier League and he struggled to adapt to it. But I think since then, he's starting to find his feet. I mean, we can see this is early on in his tenure, just that missed that missed opportunity, not quite getting there at the right times. Try it against Brighton here. Do you know what? I don't think we take into consideration how hard it is to adapt to this league. It is the fastest, most physically dominating league in Europe, week in, week out, and I think there's signs from him. That's quite a big sign, that one there. that he is starting to settle into the Premier League. And listen, ultimately, when he came in, he had Eze's boots to fill, and they're big boots to fill. And at the moment, that concoction between Mateta, Sarr, and him, it's still working in some capacity. So for me, he's doing well. Yeah,
let's talk a little bit more about Mateta, because you can tell us more about what it's like to work under a manager who's suddenly got you scoring, who's suddenly, Mateta's a man transformed under him. It's well recorded and it's been talked about. But just tell us from the other side of it, from the player's perspective.
Well, there's that trust and that belief. And Jean-Philippe will know now that he can go 4 or 5 games without scoring a goal, and the manager's going to have his back. He might take him out of the team, might take the pressure off him, but ultimately he knows he's going to get back in. And
what does that do for you as a striker?
It's everything. I mean, I think when you're at his level and kind of the way that he's got him scoring goals in the Premier League first and foremost, he's got him into the French side. He's built the whole side around him. The way that kind of, like I mentioned, that concoction between Sarr and beyond, Eze or Pino being that kind of creator, and then it's all set up for you. It's so nice to know that you've got high fullbacks that got a cross for you. Everyone on that field is set out to create for you, and there's a belief throughout the squad that you're the man. Everyone looks to him to score goals, and more often than not he does, and that's where that trust and that relationship from all angles of the pitch has come from.
Yeah, just looking at the bottom of your screen there, because it says that the Eagles have not won any Premier League match that has followed midweek UEFA Conference League match. That's what we talked about, the squad managing on both fronts. We're seeing it in a couple of other clubs in the Premier League so far this season. Looking at what's to come for them in all competitions, the next 9 games that they are to play, are they contenders for Champions League positions this season? What do you think, Darren?
I think they would be justified in setting their stall quite high, because I think outside of the top 3, there's a lot of inconsistency in teams beyond them. But if you look at this list, including Manchester United, I think they would feel capable. Maybe City would be the one, but even City this season have shown themselves to be inconsistent. It's still a new team bedding itself in under Guardiola. Arsenal obviously would be the only ones that think to themselves that could be quite tough, but all those others, I think they fancy their chances.
Champions League for you?
I think it's too much of an ask when you take into consideration their squad, the depth in their squad, and I think the fall off between your top players and then the lads on the bench, it's too vast for me. And I think the hardest part of the season is to come for Crystal Palace after Christmas, when you've gone deep into Europe, you've banked a lot of games, a lot of minutes. I think that's when the cracks.
Do you think that they could maybe prove to him their ambition by going into in the market and saying, listen, mid-season, we see where you are, the proximity to the top 4, we're going to have a go?
I mean, that is one way of trying to get him on the hook and trying to commit him to a deal. But listen, I think that Oliver Glasner probably rightly deserves an opportunity at a big club. But whether this is the right time for a big club, whether there's going to be a big club there for him, who knows? He might spend a little bit longer at Crystal Palace. He knows the environment. He's comfortable in the environment. He likes his squad. But yeah, I feel it's going to be tough for Crystal Palace to get him to put pen to paper.
Yeah, he's in a position of power right now as Oliver Glasner. Well, after the break...